because of its food, because it's difficult to get the tickets, because it's so crowded and there's so many people. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Glopen. Today we are in Xi'an, one of the 4 Asian capitals in the whole world that has been the capital of China for over 13 decades. Now behind me is Zhonglou, also called the Bell Tower in English. Now it has over 600 years of history built in the Ming Dynasty. But this is definitely not the oldest, the most ancient building in this whole city. In the next 10 to 20 minutes, I will show you more ancient buildings, ancient constructs that are over 1,000 years, including the famous Terracotta Army that is the mausoleum of the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. Now, follow me through this video. Now, as the most important historical city in China, Xi'an is also a very popular tourism city. All over the place, you will find the tourist agencies or people that are serving you, driving cars, selling you tickets. One thing that you cannot miss is the shows. There are so many shows in Xi'an that you have to visit at least one of them. So now we have just walked in the city wall. As you can see behind me are the city walls, which are pretty high. This is one of the doors and it's called Yongningmen. Now we are walking on the city walls. These walls used to defend the city, so it's basically a square that is surrounding the city. If you want and you have that energy, you can also walk for 13.7 kilometers for a whole ride. But if you don't want to spend that much time, then you can also just enjoy one of these gates and have a look around the beautiful city. So actually there are 3 layers of the Yongning Gate. As you can see behind me or around me, I'm crossing over this bridge. And once invaders cross this bridge, they will walk into this wall. As you can see, there is a gate that can be opened up and down. And then once invaders invade into this courtyard, surprisingly, they will see that there is a second gate that is much higher, and there is an archery tower towards them. Once they enter this place, they will be shot and they will realize that they are in a very bad situation. And the defenders can actually close the door behind us so that they will be trapped inside this courtyard. And actually, if they want to enter this Yongning Gate, they will have to go all the way over here through the gates on the both sides. So after the invaders spend a lot of time coming through the second layer of defense, they will realize that they will be faced the 3rd layer here. And this is the final defense of the city of the Yongning Gate. So that tells you how difficult it is to invade into this magnificent city. Now behind me is the entire history of the Beilin Museum that starts from 1087 year AD, basically starting from the Northern Song Dynasty.
Xi'an's Beilin Museum, located within Xi'an's city walls and near the Bell Tower, features elegant courtyard-style architecture. It houses a wealth of cultural treasures, where you can see Confucian classics, admire authentic inscriptions by calligraphy masters like Yan Zhenqing, Liu Gongquan, and Wang Xizhi, as well as exquisite stone carvings such as the 6 steeds of Zhao Mausoleum and Buddhist statues. It's a wonderful place to experience the charm of Asian Chinese calligraphy and the richness of Chinese culture.
Now behind me is a large portrait of Confucius. So the Beilin Museum is a rather niche place for tourists, but if you're really into sculptures, if you're really into Chinese history, especially calligraphy, then this is the place for you. And you can really see a lot of historical stories. You can find a lot of poetries that can really help you to understand the Chinese culture. Now, right beside me is the ancient parking place for horses. Of course, they were not this dense in the past, but here is just to illustrate all these stones here. In the past, you can tie your horses here so that they could not run away. Now, not too far away from the bell tower is the drum tower. Together, they have formed in the past the city's alarm system. Now behind me is Gaojia on the Muslim Quarter.
Gaojia Courtyard is a brick and wood quadrangle, built gradually starting from the late Ming Dynasty's Zhongzhen period. It wasn't fully completed until the Daoguan era of the Qing dynasty. Here you can admire the architectural and furniture art of the Ming and Qing dynasties, as well as couplets on traditional dwellings. You can see cultural displays like Shaanxi folk paper cutting, as well as intangible culture heritage performances such as shadow plays. It's really worth a visit.
Now we're walking within the Muslim Quarter. Here it's not only about Muslim food, but there's a lot of local snacks, a lot of small souvenirs that you can find on this street.
While wandering around the streets, I'm feeling really hungry. Let's go try some Xi'an local delicacies.
Now, even though I already started eating, I really want to show you this. Like all of this, like the egg with tomatoes, this liangpi and the xiaolongbao all together, and including a cola, it's only 50 RMB. Now we're at the Shaanxi History Museum. This is one of the most difficult museums to get a booking in the whole of China. There is no cost to visit this museum, but since it is so popular, it includes all the different dynasties. Basically, it's a history book of the Chinese civilization. Hence, it is very difficult to get a booking. Today, we are at the Qinghan, which only covers the Qing and Han dynasty, those two very important dynasties in China. Another reason that this museum is so popular is because Xi'an is inland of China, and compared to Beijing that has been invaded by the Western forces, a lot of the artifacts are now not in Beijing, but for example, in the British Museum. So let's have a look at this branch, the Qinghan Guan.
The Qinghan Hall systematically displays precious cultural relics from this period, ranging from the magnificent Qing dynasty bronze ritual vessels and exquisitely decorated Han dynasty jade artifacts, to weapons reflecting the military system of the time, farming tools embodying architectural civilization, and even gold and silver wares showcasing court life. It comprehensively represents the glorious achievements and historical features of the Qing and Han dynasties in politics, economy, military affairs, culture, and other fields, allowing visitors to intuitively feel the majestic spirit and historic pulse of that unified empire. It is a must-visit place for history enthusiasts.
Now we have arrived at the Terracotta Army, or also called the Terracotta Warrior, or in its official name, the Emperor Qin Shi Huang Mausoleum Site Museum. I'm really excited. Now let's follow me. Now, because this is an archaeology site with a lot of history and stories, so I would highly recommend you to hire a tour guide or to get at least a audio guide so that it can really help you to understand this site. Now, after entering the entrance and after the security check, you need to walk a bit until the tomb. But as you can see around me, there are so many people on this way. Now we have arrived at the first pit, and this place was only discovered in 1974. Why? Even though it was already existing for more than 2,000 years, Qin Shi Huang did not want people to discover it, to disturb him, and hence there was no historical records of where this exact location is. Hence, it was only discovered almost after 2,000 years. Now today we can see that the Terracotta's armies are very complete and are really amazing to see. But actually, after 2,000 years, they were already into pieces, and it took the archaeologists a lot of time to really put them together so that you can see it today.
It's truly amazing to see the Terracotta army in person. You know, these warriors are life-sized, each with unique appearances. So many of them stand guard over the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. However, it's really hard to get close enough for the look. You know why?
Because there's just too many people. Even though there's so many people, but still it's really amazing to see it with your own eyes. These more than 6,000 warriors and horses in the first pit. Now we are at the third pit, and this is the smallest as well as it has been the latest that has been discovered. Here people believe it is the commanding unit where the generals were controlling the army. Some people believe that there has no highest command that is founded here, and that is because the highest commander is the Qin Shi Huang himself. Now after the third pit, we are going to the second pit, and it is the last pit of our tour today. Now we are in the second pit. Even though this pit is smaller than the first pit, it's even more magnificent because there is a more complex of this army. There are different types of army. There's infantry, there is cavalry, and much more. Now you might think that behind me there's a lot of empty spaces and you don't see the Terracotta army laying inside or standing inside. Don't worry, we'll find them very soon. Now within this exhibition, you can learn a lot about the Qing dynasty as well as Qin Shi Huang, a very important figure in Chinese history or maybe even in the whole world. That is because he is considered the first emperor of China, and since then there has been this concept of China. He not only had political reforms but also united a lot of things. For example, the single currency. He has also unified the written language. He has also defined the weight unit. And even more amazingly, he has defined the width of the roads. And that is something that is really strange in 2,000 years ago, but it really had an impact and formed the whole of China together. Now behind me is one of the very famous terracotta armies in the whole exhibition. It is not only famous because it is nailing down, but because the face is green, and that is very different than the other terracotta armies. There are many different theories about why his face is green. What do you think is the reason? Let us know in the comment section below. Now, if you think that there are only army within this place, then you're wrong. For Qin Shi Huang is also important for entertainment. Hence, you will find also these magicians within the terracotta army. Isn't that fascinating? Now, what some people don't know is that actually the museum is split into two parts. Now we have just finished our first part of the three pits as well as the exhibition hall. Now we are going to the Mount Xi'an by the shuttle bus. So let's find it out. Now we have entered the Lishan or the Mount Lishan. It is also part of the Emperor Qin Shi Huang Mausoleum Site Museum, but not a lot of people are coming here, or at least less people are coming here. But in here, there's also a lot to see. There are 2 pits and also the real tomb of Qin Shi Huang, which is very important. So I'm going to have a walk a bit and then we'll show you around. Now in this part of the museum, you can find many different detailed artifacts of the Terracotta Army. As you can see here, the bronze harness. So you can see all these details that are fine pieces of art in its own. And if you really want to spend a lot of time, you can really go through all these details as you wish. As you can see behind me, the pits are already empty. All the terracotta armies or the figures have already been removed and exhibited either in this hall or in other exhibitions or museums. Behind me is one of the most important artifacts in the whole museum. This is the Courtyard, and even from looking from distance, it's really magnificent. It's really beautiful even after 2,000 years. So let's have a closer look. Now let's change the pace from the Qing dynasty to Tang dynasty, one of the most powerful dynasties in China's history. Now behind me is Huaqing Gong, in English also called Huaqing Palace. So let's go inside and have a look. Now Huaqing Palace is a very beautiful palace that has been built ever since Zhou dynasty and has been run by numerous emperors for 5 different dynasties. Here there has happened a lot of histories within this palace, but also on the mountain behind it, which is called the Lishan. And also here is famous for its hot spring. And there has happened a lot of histories and a lot of hot springs that do exist in this palace. So let's have a look around. Now behind me is Changshen Dian, or in English it will be called the Palace of Eternal Youth. And this is where Emperor Tang Xuanzong spent more than 10 years happily with young Yu Huan. Now this is a love story that most Chinese would know and is quite famous in China. Now, what do you think about the Huaqing Palace? Do you think it is worth a visit after hearing these stories? Now, actually, our story with the Huaqing Palace isn't over yet. Within about 2 hours, we will come back to watch a show called The Song of the Everlasting Sour. I heard it's a fantastic show, so let's look forward to it. Now we have entered the Datang temple. Now here inside, the most famous attraction is called the Great Wild Goose Pagoda. So let's have a look inside. Now for religious reasons, we will not go inside each of the halls, but I can guarantee you those statues are really, really amazing. And you have to see them yourselves. Now behind me is the Great Wild Goose Pagoda. It is in total 7 stories and 64 meters tall. It has been built by Xuanzang in the Tang dynasty. And there are a lot of treasures from that time, from the Buddhism. So let's have a look inside. Well, there were much less treasures in this pagoda than I was looking forward to. There are some, but not as much as I would expect. So if you want to have a nice bird's eye view of the whole city, I think it's definitely worth to come up here. Otherwise, I think, yeah, you can also spend more time at the other attractions. So behind me is the entrance of the show. Look how many people there are. I'm really excited. I'm really surprised because this show is played 3 to 4 times per night. The last show starts after midnight. This is how crazy it is. I'm really looking forward to it.
The Song of Everlasting Sorrow tells a poignant love story. Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang Dynasty, Li Longji, deeply loved Lady Yang, Yang Yuhuan. They were inseparable every day, living a very sweet life. Later, the Anshi rebellion broke out, and the rebel army marched in. The emperor fled with Lady Yang. When they reached Maui Slope, the soldiers were discontent and forced the emperor to put Lady Yang to death. Otherwise, they would refuse to protect him. Left with no choice, the emperor had to let Lady Yang die, and he regretted it for the rest of his life.
Now follow me into the Grand Tang Everbright city. This is one of the most popular attractions in the whole of Xi'an, especially during the night. Let me show you around.
Stepping into Xi'an's Datang Everbright city feels like stumbling into the bustling Chang'an of 1,000 years ago. Wander along its 2.1-kilometer main street, where rows of Tang-style buildings with overhanging eaves and brackets cast soft shadows under the lights. Everywhere you look, stalls showcasing intangible cultural heritages, like sugar paintings and paper cuttings, are crowded with people, while the aroma of local snacks wafts through the air. As night falls, countless lamps light up, and light shows paint the buildings in golden splendor. For a moment, it's as if the prosperity of the glorious Tang Dynasty is right before your eyes, vibrant and alive. You can find tons of delicious food here, but be careful. With lots of carbs, you might easily gain some weight.
Because the food is too good and too cheap. So that's it for our video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't be afraid to come to Xi'an because of its amazing food, because it's difficult to get the tickets for the Shaanxi History Museum, nor because it's so crowded and there's so many people. But it's really worth it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on our next video.